What's going on, everyone? Scott here. Welcome back to the channel. So, Michigan State falls to Oregon 31-10 in Eugene on Friday night. Falls to 3-3 on the season, 1-2 in conference play, but we do have a bye coming up this upcoming week. So, can we take anything positive from this game? I think there's some stuff, there's not a lot, but 31-10, and how we said last week that the Ohio State score in that game didn't really reflect how we thought Michigan State played, especially in the first half. This score pretty much reflects how the game went. It's not as bad as I think it could have been, or maybe how people thought that it could have been before the season. Was able to cover, get 10 points in the fourth quarter, make it a 21-point loss, but a loss is still a loss. A 21-point loss is still a loss. But there was a lot in this game where you kind of saw Michigan State's warts and the reason, and I think most people with a working brain understood this, that Michigan State, we were not competing for a Big Ten title this season with the likes of Oregon, with the likes of Ohio State, and obviously if you go outside of the conference, competing with some of those top teams in the country. We weren't doing that this year. It's a very young team, and we've seen that especially the last 2 weeks. But I do want to talk about some positives that we can take from this game moving into the bye this upcoming week, and then moving forward really down the heart of your schedule with some games that you should be able to compete in and hopefully steal a couple of those to get back on track and need 3 more wins to get to a bowl game. So we're going to talk about it, but first, if you could just hit that like and subscribe button down there for more Michigan State content. First Michigan State exhibition basketball game this upcoming Sunday. So a lot of stuff coming down the pipeline here in terms of content on the channel. Let's jump into the game. I mean, just really dominated on both fronts the whole game. Offensive line, defensive line. The O-line stuff is pretty much what we've seen a lot of this year. The running game had no room, getting hit behind the line of scrimmage. We've seen a couple nice plays from Nate Carter, K'Ron Lynch-Adams, being able to really make something happen themselves, bouncing out of a tackle, getting out of a tackle, and making something, but neither was really able to do any of that this game. 9 carries for 32 yards for K'Ron Lynch-Adams and 5 carries for 11 yards for Nate Carter, and neither of them was the leading rusher for Michigan State. We'll get to that more here in a minute, but that's some stuff that we've seen all season. You're not going to win games averaging 2 yards a carry. You're just not. It's just not going to happen, especially in a game like this against one of the best teams in the country. I think after the new rankings, I think the number 3 team in the country, and that tracks. They're super talented, offense, defense, everywhere on the field. They are uber talented, and you're just not going to win any of those games with a 2-yard per carry average. Oregon was also able to get 5 sacks in this game. I believe the split was 4 on Childs, 1 on Schuster. Childs, and it honestly could have been more, and that's kind of what we've seen this year. The protection for Childs has been okay. He's got pressured at times, but I think with just his athletic ability, he's been able to get out of the pocket and avoid some of those sacks for that number to be higher. But those athletes coming off the edge and up the middle for Oregon, Jordan Birch, former Spartan Derek Harmon. I mean, it was a lot. 5 sacks, 2.5 for Jordan Birch, and he was just dominant the whole game, and you just really saw it, and it was very evident. D-line, though, was kind of surprising. We talked about that being a priority coming into the game. Oregon hadn't ran the ball super well this season. They've been okay at times, but that was something that for Michigan State, that coming into the game felt like that we could possibly control that, keep that under control. Force Dillon Gabriel, who is a really great, accurate quarterback, can make big plays, make things pop, and we talked about how multiple he was out of the backfield, being able to make stuff happen with the RPO action, taking off, running, which we saw a couple times in this game as well. But the defensive line and the linebackers, the defense as a whole, got absolutely shredded by Jordan James. 24 carries for 166 yards. That works out 6.9 average per carry. Added a touchdown on there as well, but it was not a good day up front, defensive line or linebackers at all. And then last 2 things here before we get into some positive to move into the bye week. Third down efficiency for Michigan State. 2 for 11 on third down. Just cannot happen. They were 2 for 2 on fourth down, so that's a positive, but 2 for 11 on third down, it just is not going to work. Really, against most of the opponents you're going to play, for sure, the of the last 6 opponents you play, against 5 of those 6 opponents, that's not going to work or be good. Really, against all 6 of the opponents. I'm not even going to say that. Against every opponent that you're going to play the rest of the year, 2 for 11 on third down is not going to do it. And then turnovers, again, it wasn't very bad. I thought Childs was okay in this game. I mean, that defense for Oregon was just very tough, but he didn't throw an interception. He did have the fumble at the goal line as he was going into the end zone, but 10 for 17, 154, no touchdowns, no interceptions, just the one fumble. I thought it was okay. I thought he made some good plays, a couple good throws to March. I thought he was able to make some tight throws to Velling as well. Jaron Glover dropped a couple. He had, one down the sideline that Childs made a good play, got out the right side of the pocket, going towards the sideline, and was able to hit Glover down the field. Would have put them right on the doorstep of scoring, but just dropped it. Then I think it was the very next play on a little comebacker route to try to set up a 4th and short, or possibly get out of a tackle to get the first down, and dropped it as well. But I mean, unfortunately, that's going to happen, especially when the offense wasn't in rhythm all game. Now, I do want to get to some of the good going into the bye week. I thought the Michigan State secondary played well enough. Yes, there was a few explosive plays that broke out, and they deserve some of the blame for that as well, but it's also all 11 guys on defense. But I thought the secondary played decently well, especially in the beginning of this game, but really throughout the game. I thought they made a handful of plays. Obviously got the 2 picks on Gabriel in the first half, the one from Spencer making a nice read on the end zone, and then in the end zone, and then Charles Brantley was able to get in front of one on the goal line to pick it off as well. So creating turnovers from the secondary, something we haven't seen in quite a while from Michigan State, something they've been pretty good at this year as well, and Friday night was no different. Then next up, something that I thought worked really well on offense, Aiden Childs designed quarterback runs. So I added some more wrinkles on the offense and can maybe start trying to use that more. I know you don't want to put him in compromising positions to get hurt, but I think that he was Michigan State's leading rusher in terms of carries. Carried the ball 12 times, 29 yards, had the longest run of the game for any Spartan as well at 14 yards. So I think you don't want to do it too much that you risk him putting himself in a spot to get injured, but I think this can possibly help set up and open up some things and some lanes for the running game going forward, because you need to try something. We said the short passes, the rhythm passes, something to try to open up the running game. And, because really nothing has worked this year opening up the running game. There's been a few pop plays, but nothing consistent through 6 games this year. So you got to try something different. And if that's, as we said, I'll keep saying it every week, short passes, little out routes, little sticks, stuff like that. You get Childs in rhythm, and then, possibly get him outside of the pocket, get some runs. Hopefully that'll open up some of the stuff that Brian Lindgren and Jonathan Smith want to do on offense with the run game. But something's got to give. They got to get something going on the ground. And I thought that was a positive to take forward in this game. Not eye-popping numbers, but I thought that there was some stuff there that they can work on going forward. And honestly, some of those plays that Aiden was getting out of the pocket and running with the ball, honestly, probably could have been for more if you weren't playing a defense as good as Oregon was playing on Friday night. And then an interesting note, too, they did put Brandon Tullis out there, so he's now played over the 4 games, so he's not going to redshirt this year. And I'm curious if they try to work him in more, maybe give him a couple touches, see if any change, because as we've talked about ad nauseum throughout this episode and really throughout this season as a whole, is how the running game hasn't got going. And me personally, and I know a lot of people as well, have credited that to the offensive line not playing where they need to play or how they need to play or at the level they need to play at, I guess is the best way to put it. But you have to put some run on the running backs too. Like, they've been able to make some plays, but it's also, you got to put a little bit of blame on them, even though if a majority of the pie is on the offensive line. So maybe getting a new young back, Brandon Tullis, out there, see what he can give you now that red shirt is burnt. I don't know. I guess we'll see going forward. Now, as we move into the bye week, obviously got some stuff to clean up, and I think they will. If they can get healthy in some spots too, I know Antonio Gates Jr. has been out for a while, some other guys as well. If, the guys that obviously weren't long-term or season-ending injuries, if, hopefully you can maybe get healthy this week going into a couple big game stretch here. Really, every game is big down the stretch as we try to get 3 more wins to go to a bowl game. But I think this bye game comes at a good time. Obviously, you really feel like you should be 4-2 coming out of these first 6 games. You should have won that Boston College game. but a young team, a young quarterback, on the road, stuff like that's going to happen. But really, as a whole, if you said that Michigan State was 3-3 coming into the bye week, I think that's about where everyone thought that they would be. You wanted to go 3-1 in those first 4 games. Okay, you did that. You figured you were going to lose against Ohio State and Oregon. You did that, and I don't think it looked as bad as people maybe thought coming into the season. So I think you're in a good spot going into the bye week and coming at a good time where you can really spend some time to, work on yourself, work on Michigan State, both in the film room, on the practice field as well. Obviously, you got to rest up, get healthy. You got a handful of good opponents coming up after this bye week before you get another bye week before you close out the rest of the season. So rest, recover, work on Michigan State and some of the stuff that you can fix in practice in the film room. And then coming up these next 2 games, Iowa and Michigan to close out October. Given how bad Iowa and Michigan's offense has, there's no reason you shouldn't be in those games. And if you play mistake-free football or close to mistake-free football, even on the offensive end, then there's no reason you shouldn't be in that game and think that you have a good shot of winning that game. And I'm going to say, I said coming into the year that I thought they were going to win the Iowa game. And I still believe that they will win the Iowa game. It was actually just announced it's going to be a night game in Spartan Stadium. So that place is going to be juiced up and ready to roll on Saturday night, the 19th. And then a rivalry game at Michigan. Don't know what time that is yet, but that place is obviously going to be juiced up, playing on the road. First time in the rivalry for a lot of these guys. So I think these next 2 games are huge. I think you need to go at worst 1-1 in these next 2 games, Iowa and Michigan, before you head into the November slate, which doesn't get any easier either. Indiana, Illinois, Purdue, and Rutgers to close out the season. So we'll see how it goes. But I think this bye week comes at a good time for Michigan State. We'll be back. Obviously, no game preview this week, but we'll be back to talk some basketball later on this week. And then we'll be back on Friday with a short video to keep our college football picks coming. So that'll be a short video on Friday for football. But anyway, that'll do it for this one. Thank you all so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Peace out.